humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Robert Press, official reporter for the Bronx Chronicle, Parkchester Times, Co-op City News, and here on Parrot TV. Before I get into the weather, there is an event that I missed right now. It's Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson's Juneteenth flag raising event, which is going on right now at Borough Hall. So please forgive me, Borough President Gibson, for missing your event as I am doing my live TV show. And please forgive me for missing your event last night as I was at 2 Community Board 11 meetings. So let's get into the show. Our weather is later on today. It looked like, and I'm looking out my window right now, it looks like it's getting cloudy. So it looks like rain will be coming later today. There's possible showers. Tomorrow, John Sicaro Jr. is having his grand opening of his office on Williamsbridge Road. However, the forecast is maybe showers tomorrow also. So let's hope it doesn't rain on John's parade. Sunday, Monday then are nice. But let's go into our main subject that we always love, Donald Trump. He appeared in a Miami courtroom Tuesday, and the reported 7 counts that I said last week turned into 37 counts, and I'll go into them in a few minutes or in a minute, which Donald Trump says he was innocent to all counts. He made a stop afterwards to meet some of his supporters in Miami. Then it was off to the airport and board his Trump jet as it was off to an event in New Jersey. So what was in the indictments? In the 37 indictments, well, it's actually 7 indictments because counts 1 to 31 are the same. It's willful retention of national defense information. Now, what can come from each count? Well, there's a maximum term of 10 years in prison. The minimum term of imprisonment isn't applicable. The maximum supervised release program is 3 years, and each count could be a fine of $250,000. Count 32, conspiracy to obstruct justice, is the same. While here you have 20 years in jail with the same other penalties. Count 33 is withholding a document on record, again 20 years and the same $250,000 fine. Count 34 is covertly concealing a document or of record, again 20 years in jail, $250,000 fine. Count 35 is concealing a document in a federal investigation, 20 years and $250,000 fine. Count 36, this one I love, scheme to conceal. Again, this one's only 5 years in jail if he's convicted, but it's still a maximum fine of $250,000. And count 37, the last count, is a false statements and representatives. I have no idea what that means. That's only 5 years in jail, and again, a $250,000 fine. So if we add up the 37 counts, Donald Trump could be owing $9-point-something million if he's fined the maximum. And he could be spending, let's see, 20, 40, maybe 150 years in jail. Yeah, the man's a little old right now, but okay. Now, it's funny because there is now candidate number 13 who has entered the Republican primary for president. It is Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. It's very interesting since this was announced just after Donald Trump appeared in a Miami courtroom. I know I said last week that the clean slate law would not get passed, but it appears that the Assembly and the State Senate passed it, and they did it at the last minute. So it is almost law. It is 8 years for felonies and 3 years for misdemeanors, that their records would be sealed and they wouldn't be able to who submitted 31 foils to Community Board 11. No. Well, that was a quote from the bottom. But let's continue with the clean slate law because it's now up to Governor Cuomo, almost made a mistake, Governor Cuomo, Governor Hochul, to sign it into legislation. She can sign it. She can just leave it on her desk as a pocket veto or just veto the bill outright. Speaking of Governor Hochul, she is going after illegal cannabis stores. On my blog at 100percentbronx.blogspot.com. That's 100% bronx.blogspot.com is an announcement by the governor that the Office of Cannabis Management and Department of Taxation conducted inspections of businesses. It appears one day 3 businesses in Ithaca were inspected. Another day 2 businesses in Binghamton. The businesses were issued notice of violations for selling cannabis without a license. The penalty for this, which will ultimately confirmed through an administrative law judge process hearing, is $10,000 per day, plus additional penalties if the inspected business continues to sell cannabis without a license. There are also more added violations, and then there's a tax and finance law, which could be, they could wind up like Al Capone for not paying income tax in jail. There's also 11 businesses that were 11 locations in downtown Manhattan that were also inspected, but nothing was mentioned of anything they were selling. I got to say to the governor, the OCM, and the Department of Taxation, why aren't you coming to the Bronx? Or are you just going where there are legal cannabis stores and trying to take away the illegal stores? The Bronx is full of illegal cannabis, so it probably has the most in the borough of the Bronx than anywhere else in the state. So why don't you guys come up to the Bronx and take care of some of these illegal smoke shops up here? My favorite subject, Bill de Blasio, former Mayor Bill de Blasio, in a 3-page document titled Final Findings of Fact, Conclusions of Law and Order. That was a show on TV. It's still on, Law and Order. But on the matter of former Mayor Bill de Blasio having the NYPD accompanying him while he was a candidate for president between May 2019 and September 2019, there were 31 out-of-state trips that the former mayor made, which the New York City Police Department security detail incurred $319,794.20 in travel costs, excluding their salary and overtime during these 31 trips. It's section 2606B1 in the city charter. And the New York Conflict of Interest Board has also imposed a fine of $155,000 pursuant to the city charter, section 2606B, chapter 68. Former Mayor de Blasio has the right to file an Article 78 of the Civil Practice Law and Rules, and it is reported that the former mayor has done that. Speaking of soon-to-be former mayoral appointees, former Bronx councilman Fernando Cabrera has announced, it's been announced that he is stepping down from his post as Mayor Eric Adams' senior faith advisor on June 20th to focus on his growing congregation, as an Adams spokesperson told the New York Post. The job pays $227,786, and Reverend Ruben Diaz, Senior, if you're out there, I would give my resume to the mayor because you seem to be perfect for that type of a job. Going to community boards. Community board meetings will have to be, the mayoral executive order to allow for video meetings expires on June 19th. And unless he extends it, the community boards have to have a resolution in place to allow for hybrid meetings. All meetings must be in person, if it's a hybrid meeting, a quorum of the members must be in person attending. Continuing now, if you haven't heard, New York City Police Commissioner Keechant Sewell will be leaving as of June 20th, 23. There are reports of her not being able to run the department the way she wanted. She was unable to make personnel decisions. The one decision she made, she got flack on. And not only having Mayor Adams to talk to, but Deputy Mayor of Public Safety Philip Banks also. Who will take over her place? As of July 1st, it's rumored that First Deputy Commissioner Edward Caban will likely take over, at least temporarily. As for a permanent New York City Police Commissioner, it will be up to Eric Adams to decide, and I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to take the job himself. Mayor Adams has signed new contracts through 2027 with the United Federation of Teachers, DC 37, and the Uniformed Officers Unions, which makes up about 75% of the workforce. These are 5-year contracts that give about 16 or 16.5% raises over 5 years. They will go either 3% 1 year, 3.25% the next year, 3.5%, or even 4% probably the last year. Each contract is a little different, so I'm not going to go through the details. Mayor Adams also has a problem as the city inch closer to having a federal judge. Federal takeover of the Rikers Island. Judge Laura Taylor Swan turned over control of Rikers Island to federal receivership, and she's going to go that way, apparently, because she said after hearing from the city and the federal appointed monitor, she will consider federal takeover of Rikers Island in August. Manhattan grand jury has indicted Daniel Perry, the United States Marine veteran, in the fatal chokehold death of 30-year-old Jordan Neely on a New York subway last May. If convicted, Perry could face up to 15 years in jail. Currently, Perry is out on bail. There was another incident in Queens where a 50-year-old man was arrested after a fight with another subway rider that ended with that other person being fatally struck by a train after he was pushed on the subway tracks in Elmhurst, Queens, in front of an F train. The fight seems to have begun over a phone that was knocked out of the 50-year-old man's hand, and that's what happened. So he also is out on bail. He was $100,000 bail. Someone put up their house as collateral, so he's out on bail too. I believe his name was Williams. I don't know his first name. So it's an arrest that's happening. Lastly, before I go to commercial, the Rent Guidelines Board will be meeting Wednesday, June 21st at Hunter College Assembly Hall, located at East 69th Street between Park and Lexington Avenues at 7 p.m. for a final vote on the rent-stabilized apartment leases. 1-year leases are proposed between 2% and 4%. 2-year leases are proposed between 4% and 7%. I would have to guess, with the flack that was presented to the Rent Guidelines Board at all of the hearings that they had, that they will be closer to the lower end of the raise schedule. And saying that, I would like to go to a commercial right now, so take it away.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely convince you.
Welcome back to the show. Primary day is Tuesday, June 27th. Early voting begins tomorrow, Saturday the 17th, running through Sunday, June 25th, pardon me. And my guest today is 13th City Council Democratic candidate, retired United States Army Sergeant John Perez. John was a district leader and is known to politics. He ran last year for the state senate in the 34th State Senate District. John also began a community organization that fought over development in the Melrose section of the Bronx. He's also the father of a teenager, so he knows the problems of what the school system has. His daughter goes to school in the Pelham Bay area in the council district. And if I continue, I won't have any more time for John to speak. So, John, why don't you say something about yourself? John?
Bob, I hate talking about myself. You hear me?
Yes, I do, and that's why I put you on the spot.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're breaking up. Okay, now you can hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Now, you were breaking up before. I didn't hear anything that that if you had asked me a question.
Okay, John, can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up, John. Can you hear me?
You now.
Okay. The New York Post had a story yesterday.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. The New York Post had a story yesterday.
Here we go.
That said, Council Speaker Adrienne Adams is holding back on a vote of the city budget until after primary day because she is worried that certain incumbents in close races might not win if they had to vote on this budget right now. What makes you think that Marjorie Velazquez might be in that category of a weak incumbent? Do you believe she's a weak incumbent, and why can you beat her?
I don't think that she's a weak incumbent, being that she has so much support behind her, and obviously the support is behind her only because she's going to vote with the Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House had purposely withheld these contracts. Not only that, but they've also held back on the contracts so that the general public doesn't see what exactly it is that they're doing that is going to affect our way of life and where the cuts are going to come from. So if that information becomes privy earlier on in the elections, obviously it's going to turn the elections around for any incumbents that are running for re-election.
You grew up in the Throgsneck area, which the current incumbent has made, let's say, a mistake, or maybe it wasn't a mistake, by telling the community around the food town where the Bruckner rezoning is happening that she was with the community and against the upzoning, but then at the last minute she voted for the upzoning. What would you have done in her position? And please reflect on what you did when you started Nostradamus to fight an upzoning or a rezoning. All right. Would you please tell us what you did to start with Nostradamus?
The dissemination of information is very important as any public servant. The trust and confidence of your constituents that is placed on you is by far the most important thing. If you don't have support from your community, then you're useless. When I started working, when I started putting together Nostradamus, it was already a pretty much done deal that the development was going to come through, and they didn't take into consideration that there were people that lived there already. So our mantra, our saying Nostradamus is we stay Nostradamus. You're going to have to build around us. And we saw an opportunity for us to actually engage the city and state officials and developers and put together a plan that is going to be beneficial for the community, which is building more schools. We did get a fire department. We did get a new police department. Our schools became bigger. We put a couple of parks together. We were able to negotiate all of these things in certain developments. Obviously, we wanted to maintain the structure of the community, but because it was so decimated that we had to actually build. But we didn't want to take away the housing, the homes from the people that were there, and they wanted to stay there. They were very comfortable there. So we built buildings around, but we took into consideration parkland. We took into consideration park spaces, green spaces, roads, schools, transportation. We really put a huge amount of effort into developing this into a thriving community, and it is. And that led into the Third Avenue bid, and right now they're developing that portion of the plan that was set for Melrose.
Tell us a little bit about your Army career. I understand you were a career Army soldier. You were wounded in combat. So please tell us a little bit about your leadership abilities.
I was. I mean, basically, because I already had knowledge, political knowledge, community organizing as an early age. Um, my goal was to join the Army. It's always been that. And when I had the opportunity to do it, I went, and I was able to use the knowledge and the understanding of building and structure to the Army, and I pretty much gained the trust and confidence of my soldiers, my leaders, subordinates, and I got the respect. And I was promoted 3 times ahead of my peers. That was very, very impressive. That I was able to acquire that in a short period of time, and I excelled, and I executed flawlessly. And out of that, I was by name requested to serve as the Army's ambassador in certain areas of New York State, and then subsequently it went throughout the United States.
There is a proposal to house Rikers Island incarcerated people who have medical problems. One hospital in the Bronx is going to be North Central Bronx, where the top floors are already being taken and worked on. The other proposal is a just home proposal at Jacoby Hospital. So that would mean that all of the medically compromised incarcerated people would wind up in 2 Bronx hospitals. Now, we see that the borough jails have been split up into the 4 boroughs, excluding Staten Island. Do you think it's fair that these 2 Bronx hospitals, and there's only 3 Bronx hospitals, there's 11 hospitals in the total of the Health and Hospitals Corporation, which services the people who are prisoners, who are incarcerated. If they have any problems, the Health and Hospitals Corporation goes into Rikers Island and picks it up. So now they want to put them into the 2 Bronx hospitals of North Central Bronx and Jacoby. Do you think that's fair? Because they had a meeting at Jacoby Hospital, and I mentioned fair share to them. I said, it's not fair that you're putting all of these people in the 2 Bronx hospitals when you have 11 hospitals throughout the city. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, fair share is very important in every community, not just our. Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
We're losing you, John.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
We're having technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. I'm okay. Here we go. I don't know. Is it me, or is it everybody that comes on your show that has technical difficulties? We don't have to work on this process.
1 or 2 people do.
You know, fair share is. Yeah, fair share is something that we really seriously have to take into consideration. You can't saturate any communities with so many programs, so many programs like this, so many housing. I mean, we saw all the effects that the South Bronx had with the shelters. It doesn't do justice for any community. The problem here is that if you make a irrational decision to, like, say, let's close Rikers, without putting a plan in place on how you're going to disseminate any people, anyone that's incarcerated, and say, well, you have to take into consideration what effects that's going to have on each neighborhood. Obviously, in our community, it's going to affect and maintain a low. I just lost you there for half a second. We're back.
You're coming in and out, John. So I'm going to really end it now. There was a question about you raising a finger at a Community Board 11 meeting. So can you talk about that? I understand, that there are certain things that can be said and can't be said, why you did it, because the person on here said that it is protected by the freedom of speech. Can you say anything about why you did it? The finger. Nope. Looks like we lost John.
Do you hear me now?
Now I hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
You hear me? 1, 2,
Yes.
3. What's going on?
About the finger at the Community Board 11 meeting. There was a comment, why did you do it? Can you speak about it?
My middle finger thing?
Yes. It's covered under free speech, the person said. So can you talk about it, why you did it?
No.
No?
No. Good.
We can't hear why.
No good.
You're under a gag order right now? Well, I believe that we'll have to come back to John at some other time then. Can you hear me, John? All right, well, we're almost at the end of the show.
I can hear you now.
Okay. The question is, why did you give the finger at the Community Board 11 meeting? And the question was that, yes, I know it's protected by the freedom of speech law, and the police were called on you by the chair of the board, Bernadette Ferrara, who, well, I don't want to say anything more about Bernadette, but she is one of your opponents. So can you speak on it, or are you gagged on that right now? Looks like Mr. Perez couldn't hear me. So let me go on to another. Yes, I can. Did you hear my question?
I'm really disappointed in the communication that we're having and the technical difficulties that we're having. It does injustice to me. It does injustice for your viewers. And I think that you should go back and try to fix this problem before I can come back on. It's very frustrating, and it, I've seen your show a couple of times, and it's only happening to me. So I'm very aggravated right now, and I don't think that anything that's going to come out of my mouth is going to be representative of what I really feel.
All right, John, I want to thank you then for coming on the show. We're at almost the closing of the show. I have a couple of items to say. So thank you for coming on the show, John. And remember, tomorrow begins early voting. John is one of 4 candidates running on the Democratic line. There is, for the first time in many years, a Republican primary and a conservative primary. Kevin, yes, I see you, and I see you also. You want more? No more. There is no softball question.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life
Tomorrow,
easier
Assemblyman
for
John
you as a writer?
Jr. Grand reopening of his office on Williamsbridge Road. The office is located at 2018 Williamsbridge Road. He is having a family fun day where he will be closing Williamsbridge Road from noon to 4 p.m. from Leidig Avenue to Neal Avenue. Buses will be rerouted. He will have games, music, food, and family fun. He's got a bouncy house and some other surprises for people. Then Sunday, June 18th, Community Board 11 is having their Juneteenth celebration at Brady Court, which is located 768 Brady Avenue at the corner of Holland Avenue and Anton Place. State Senator Gustavo Rivera will be giving out awards to recently retired 49th Precinct Council President Joe Thompson for his many years of service there, and certificates of recognition to 49th Precinct Commanding Officer Deputy Inspector Garth Kentridge, CB 11, Community Board 11, Sergeant of Arms Oral Selkridge, and Angel Diaz of Laborers Local 79. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you come back next week to watch the show, because it will be right before primary day, and I hope to have another guest, or maybe even bring Mr. Perez back on when we have a better connection. So thank you for watching.
Undoubtedly, Africa is the best tourism destination on Earth. The continent is blessed with the most conducive atmosphere. To feel and enjoy these blessings, join the most productive one-week tour of the continent organized by Daylight Africa every September 2nd to September 9th to see beyond the fallacies about Africa on the mainstream media. Contact us at daylightafrica@gmail.com or call 718-822-5555. Daylight Africa. Revolutionizing tourism industries in Africa.